Good morning, everybody. I suppose those of us who are left are going to enjoy an hour's worth of crypto content. I hope you're all doing well this morning. Good morning, Hidden Alpha. I hope you're well. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. November the 4th, 2025. The markets are on fire. I don't know what the worry is about. I really don't. We're going to go through a lot of it today. As you can see, it's the second day of my cozy chalet. I'm sitting in front of this beautiful fire with the snow behind my head. And I am not worrying about anything, as you shouldn't be worrying about anything. We've got a lot to cover. In fact, the majority of the X-Files today are about events that are going on the macro scale and to do with adoption of Bitcoin, adoption of crypto and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of want you all to calm down, basically. I want you all to relax a little bit. I think I've said this many, many times before. I bought Bitcoin at about $3,000. I'm not going to sit here and say I bought it at $10. I bought it about $3,000. I watched it go to $1,000, $19,000, back to $3,000, $65,000, $15,000, $126,000. I'm still here. I'm still in one piece, just about. It's just what crypto is about. There's a lot of sayings in crypto. There's a lot of sayings that you hear. You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve is a good saying that I hear. And I think that rings very, very true. You also sell the price of Bitcoin you deserve as well as buy the price of Bitcoin you deserve. And I think that's what's important is there's a lot of people who are very myopic. And I know a lot about myopicness because that's what's wrong with my eyes at the minute. That's why I'm having a minor operation this month. You have to zoom out. There are a lot of people who are projecting their own fear at this moment in time, and they're projecting it onto crypto Twitter, they're projecting it everywhere. And that's just their inner insecurity, in my opinion. People have been calling for the end of this bull run for 2 years, 18 months, 12 months, 6 months. Today, they'll call for it in 6 months' time or 12 months' time. And that's just part and parcel of being in crypto. It is noise, and of course it's a distraction. The same way that people that tell you that we're going to go to $300,000 or $400,000, those people as well are the kind of people that are just noise. And the truth is in the middle. We are not going to zero, and we are not going to $300,000 or $400,000. And that's the simple fact of it. $140,000, $150,000, more than happy to get there this bull run. And I don't think the bull run is broken. I don't think the bull run is over. We have time. Okay, now what we're going to do is go through the prices, then we're going to look at these X-Files, and then what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the sell-off. We're going to talk about something quite contentious, but I'm not going to talk about it from the point of view of he said, she said, because that's not what I'm about. M has finally got a job at Macca's. I'm loving it. Listen, send me across an application form, and I will also turn up and work alongside you. And basically, I'm going to give everybody large fries anyway, whether they ask for them or not. That's what I will do. We're going to talk about a European version of strategy. Michael Saylor is expanding into Europe. We're going to talk about some alt picks to pick up in this quagmire that we're in now. We're going to look at TON. They've made a bit of a faux pas. We're going to talk about Ripple and their new prime brokerage. We're going to talk about Animoca. We're going to talk about what they're planning to do on the stock exchange as well. So we've got a busy show. As always, we try and mix this show up. Good morning, Mags. Sorry, I didn't see you there. We're going to try and mix this up a little bit. We're not just going to look at Bitcoin and get sad because, to be quite frank, I have been sleeping perfectly fine for the last few weeks. I slept fine through the crash that we had back 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been sleeping perfectly fine ever since. And I think majoritively that's because I am Bitcoin heavy. I think 60% of my portfolio is in Bitcoin. I think my portfolio is about 20% off all-time highs. I'm good. I'm good. And if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you should also have a lot of Bitcoin. If that's the case, let's not forget all-time high is $126,000. We're at $104,000 now. A 30% drawdown, which is what we always talk about on here, maybe it's now a 25% drawdown. That takes us to 100,000, 98,000, 97,000. We're not a million miles away from that. And that's a natural drawdown during any bull cycle. And anyone out there talking about cope, you go back over the last 18 months and you will find multiple times that Bitcoin has come down 25 to 30%. And you need 6 or 7 of them in a bull run. I think we've already had 5. Maybe, oh no, actually no, we'll have had 6, including the liquidation event in October. So this will be the 7th. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Anyway, Bitcoin is coming in under $104,000. I have been saying all along, as long as we hold $103,000 or $104,000, I am happy. We are now at that point where we need to hold for me to be happy. Otherwise, I will become unhappy. And I'm not going to turn green, but I don't think I'm going to turn red either. I'm going to show you the Bitcoin chart as well in a bit, which I wasn't going to do, but I'm going to show it you to show you where we are on my Bitcoin chart. Not the Oracle who does TA in his sleep. My Bitcoin chart made with my old weathered hands. I'm going to show you where we are because it might surprise you. Ethereum is below $3,500. I said when we were at $4,000, I can see us maybe at worst case going to 3,600. 3,500. XRP is at 226. It's lost $2.50. Solana is at 160. Where is 164? Why didn't that hold for us? We've got Cardano back at 54 cents. Again, these coins are only 10% away from everybody thinking they're rich again. You know, if we had a 60-cent Cardano, that is a good base price, which we talk about here. Same with XRP, $2.50, $2.75. They're the prices we talk about with XRP. So we're about 10% below a happy place. If we add 10% onto Ethereum with 3,800, happy there. Add 10% onto Bitcoin, 113,000, we're happy there. So we've not had this cataclysmic collapse that everybody's been talking about. I watched the usual streamers that I watch in the mornings before I stream while I'm doing the rest of the work. And some of them have been fairly, buoyant about this, about where we're coming down to. Others, you can clearly see through their mask that they are very, very sad individuals right now. And I think that's because the majority of people who are really, really sad right now are the ones that have ignored the major coins. Because if you haven't ignored the major coins, then this isn't that bad. We're having people telling you X, Y, or Z, but if you're only down 10 or 20% on your portfolio, I don't know if you've ever held stocks or shares. When there's a black swan event, you come down a long way. I'm not that sad. I'm not that sad from where we are now. Clearly, I don't want to see us start to break below $90,000. There are some limits to a point in where we can come down to. And then I think, unlike a lot of people, I think I've tried to remain fairly, what's a good word for this? Not neutral, that's not the right word. I've tried to remain fairly level-headed about the direction that we are going in. And I keep reminding you of the same things every day. And I think that's important. We do not have a working government in America right now. And we haven't had one for 6 weeks, 8 weeks. That money is not going into the economy in America. The interest rates are coming down slower than most people would have liked. Point number 3. Quantitative tightening, I believe, finishes on the 1st of December. Now, if we were going to be looking back in time and saying, how could we have predicted this? I would not have predicted the Democrats doing a 6 to 8 to 10 week lockdown. I would have expected a 3 or 4 week lockdown. That would have taken us back to the beginning of October, and that would have taken us into higher ground. Because we are in lockdown, we are also not seeing the Trump rate cuts, the tax rate cuts. So there's a lot of stimulus that just isn't coming into the market that should have come in 4 or 5 weeks ago, that isn't coming in 4 or 5 weeks later. So there's a lot of stuff. And again, there's going to be people out there saying it's cope. Follow the charts and I'll tell you the news. I know I've heard it all before. But there's a lot of things going on that when they end, there's going to be some upward movement. Now, again, neutral and fair and balanced is there are people who've been telling you that we're going to $200,000 or $400,000 by the end of this cycle, by the end of this year, sorry. And I've been saying for several months that's just not going to happen. And 150,000, I think, is a fair price by the end of this year. And had we got to that, I'd be looking at about 180. But we haven't got to that. I wanted 136 by the end of October. I didn't play on what was happening in America lasting so absolutely ridiculously long. So maybe 140, 150 is the cycle top, and maybe we get that in December. I think the sooner we see the government open up in America, the sooner we start to see the money being turned on and the market recover. What we don't want to see right now is we don't want to see the stock market in America start to fall. because you know as well as I do, if we see the S&P start to come down, crypto is really going to crash. That hasn't happened yet. And again, I can't predict the future. If the stock market in America drops 4 or 5% over the next week or so, I think we're going to be way below $100,000. But again, I don't have a crystal ball. Bitcoin looks heavy right now, but there's reasons for it to look heavy. It's not we're sitting here and we've no idea why this is happening. It's the elongation of everything else. But I'm not worried yet. Let's put that there. Until we break the 4-year cycle, I'm still sticking with the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle is more than just Bitcoin. The 4-year cycle is the midterms in America. 2 years into Trump's campaign, how well is he doing? Those are coming up in, is it November next year? We've had Trump for 9 months. We have a lot of legislation that needs to pass. We're going to get the Clarity Act, which we talked about yesterday. So there's a lot of things which are happening right now, which simply don't suit the timeframes that we want them to suit. And it's breaking some of our targets. But remember, it's the 4th of November. The 24th of November, 4 years ago, was all-time highs. So we've still got plenty of time for us to recover. And I remember having this conversation when we were at 69,000. I remember having this conversation, we're at 74,000. And I said, crypto can turn very, very quickly. And within 3-4 weeks, we'd gone up 25, 35, 45%. So I'm not worried. And you shouldn't be worried. And if people are telling you it's all over, that's fine. Absolutely, they're entitled to their opinions to tell you it's all over. But your truth, I hate that expression, should be what you believe is going to happen. And you need to have a balanced approach. And I'm trying to give you somewhat of a balanced approach. Maybe when we are at 126,000, maybe I'm more bearish than a lot of you would like. And maybe when we're coming down, maybe I'm a little bit more bullish than most of you like. But I have to play devil's advocate. I'm not going to sit here saying the sky is falling when I don't think it is, because that's disingenuous. The same way, when we go to 124, 125, 126,000, I'm going to tell you I don't think this is the right time for us to go up. I'm going to be honest, and that's all I can really be. Now, Decred is another one of these, what they're called, privacy coins. I don't like this at all. I don't like Zcash, I don't like Dash, and I don't like Decred. I don't like this. I think it is a scam, and I don't know however else to put that. I don't believe that out of nowhere we have a privacy pump, and we think we know who some of these people are behind it. So we're not going to talk about them. Right then, SPX 6900 is down, Morpho is down, great project. World Liberty Finance is at 11 cents. That's the target I had for World Liberty Finance that I wanted to buy at. It's at 11 cents. So you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start buying World Liberty Finance. Cosmos is down. Asta is down below $1. That, again, is not a bad price. Toncoin is down. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So many really good projects down here, mixed in with a lot of trash. Solana, one of the worst losers. Kronos, one of the worst losers. Aerodrome below $1. Good price. Again, if I said to you 6 weeks ago, you can go and buy Solana for $160, you would bite my hand off. You'd bite my hand off. It's one of the top 5 coins. It's got massive adoption. It's got ETFs coming out of the wazoo as we speak. And people are worried about it being $160. Shouldn't you go and buy it? If we ran a clothes shop selling high-end designer clothes and they were $1,000 each, and we say to you, hey guys, we've got a 30-40% discount, do you want to come and buy some of those designer clothes? What would you do? You'd go and buy the designer clothes. Crypto, and not all crypto, but a lot of the good cryptos are now at what I think are a very good price. $160 for Solana, very good price. Ethereum, $3,500. If it goes to $6,000, $5,000, $7,000, you're going to do really, really well. So again, I'm not one to believe all of the FUD. I will listen to the FUD and then decide myself where I think we are going to go. And that is all I can do. I just watch the markets. I watch the news. I see the direction we're going in. I don't think this is the start of a bear market at all. Right then. Now, again, these are random posts. There is no particular order to these, but I want you to get the theme from them. Standard Chartered CEO says almost all global transactions will eventually run on the blockchain. Okay, that is why you are seeing the advent of the stablecoin blockchains. The Plasmas, the ARCs. We spoke yesterday about the Tempo, was it? Visa to accept payments in 4 stablecoins on 4 separate blockchains that can settle into fiat currency. So, all the banks' transactions are going to be online. Visa are now accepting 4 different stablecoins across different blockchains. I spoke to my bank an hour ago, and I said, are you going to accept stablecoins as transfers in the near future? To which the gentleman, quite rightly, said, not yet, but we're looking at it, and if you can show proof of reserves and you can deposit the funds into the account, we will accept sales of crypto assets. We're getting there, but this is like the trickle-down effect. So we spoke about Revolut as well on Friday. Revolut now accept transfers in stablecoins. So you can send $1,000 from your Solana wallet straight into Revolut, which is a mobile bank app. So we have Revolut, one of the largest European mobile app banks, now accepting crypto transfers from stablecoins. Almost there with this kind of stuff. Amazon is now hiring a Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem lead for a very, very good salary. Now, again, we can talk about the fact that I installed an update to my browser yesterday, and guess what my browser did? It came with a wallet attached to my Microsoft account. So Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, all the top dogs are now moving into crypto the same way they moved into the internet. The European Commission is drafting a proposal to give ESMA SEC-like oversight over crypto and stock exchanges, with draft expected in December. Could this make the EU more crypto-friendly or stifle innovation? It is all about... What do they say now in the hip-hop world? It's all about the Benjamins. That's it, isn't it? It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the tax. Asset management meets capital efficiency. Maple's assets on OX Fluid have generated more than 500 million in inflows. The money that goes through Maple and goes into Syrup, USDC and USDT, that money is from institutional players who have assets that they want to borrow against. And they borrow against those assets and pay interest. And that interest gets paid out into the dollar yielding assets. So every single one of these tweets has not been put together in any order. But look at what's happening in front of your eyes. We're going to get onto this one in a minute. Look at what's happening in front of your eyes. I've mentioned Amazon. I've mentioned Visa. I've mentioned Standard Chartered Bank. I've mentioned the European Union. Stablecoins, crypto, transactions. Everybody is talking about crypto, and you are scared of $103,000 Bitcoin. This is adoption in real time in front of your very eyes, and you're sitting there thinking, you know what, I think I should sell and get out of Bitcoin because I don't think it's the right thing for me. Michael Saylor's gone to Europe with strategy, which we're going to cover in a minute. Don't listen to the narrative. The people in suits play a longer game than you do, or I do. They play a longer game. They don't care about the price of Bitcoin today or tomorrow. They care about the price of Bitcoin in 3, 4, 5, 10 years' time. They look over the lifespan of somebody's retirement fund. They look over the lifespan of X, Y, and Z. You have probably pension funds is the next big one that's going to start coming on board. I know the Fireman Pension Fund, I know a few of them are on board already with Bitcoin. That's massive money. If you look at the percentage of stocks and shares owned by pension funds, especially in the UK, it's absolutely vast. They start tapping into crypto, which they will start doing in the future through structured products, through BlackRock and things like that. You've got even more money coming into Bitcoin and crypto. Now, this is the one that really tickled my fancy. Let me just have a quick check on chat. Marco is here. Danny is here. Good morning. Good morning, Kishan. Good morning, Manjeet. It wasn't looking for. All I had to do was show my crypto portfolio. Good morning. AFK right now. We'll catch up later. You know what, Em? I'll tell you something. If I went and worked at a fast food restaurant, I would be the worst employee in the world. You want extra fries, you get double. You want extra pepperoni on that pizza, you won't be able to see the cheese. You want a chicken bucket, there's going to be about 6 whole chickens in there. I will be the worst employee ever. That's just how I've always been. You know, I used to work behind a bar. People used to get slightly bigger drinks than they needed. But guess what? It keeps people coming back. Now then, Charles calls for Cardano influencers come back. IOHK Charles said the Cardano community had lost many of its loudest voices, from angry crypto show to the Cardano effect. We used to have people broadcasting 24/7 about how great Cardano is. We need to come together and get some more. Is it time for a new generation for Cardano influencers to rise? Now, I am in actually a very useful position to be able to talk about this. If there's nothing to talk about, you can't talk about it. If I came on here with no agenda and basically sat here and sang the Lego theme song of Everything is Awesome for an hour, you'd turn off because there's no content. Cardano is a great project and has bags of potential. But if there's nothing to talk about, what does he expect these so-called voices and influencers to do? There is zero financial gain from talking about Cardano. And much as he might say, people do it for the tech and people do it for the love of the community, lovely, but that doesn't keep the lights on. Now, you can talk about projects on Solana. You can team up with projects on Solana. You can become an ambassador of Ethereum projects, ambassador of Layer 2 projects. You can do all of those things and you can get rewarded for talking bullishly about a project that you should believe in, not just anything. Cardano doesn't have any of that. So much as it's great to say it's not fair, nobody's talking about us, make it worth their while. Oh, we can't do that because then we'll just be accused of shilling. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. If you have an insider trader or a call that gets a pre-allocation of tokens and then goes out and says, oh my God, Minturn DAO is going to be the biggest token in the world, it's going to 1000x, then of course that's shilling. But there was a comment on X over the weekend and I really liked it. And it was an influencer that talks about one coin 1,000 times is more beneficial than an influencer that talks about 1,000 tokens one time. And I really, really like that. And the reason I really like that kind of like commentary or observation is I think that differentiates between two separate sides of the same coin, which is talking about projects. If Cardano wants influencers to come and talk about Cardano, it needs to find the right influencers who want to talk about Cardano. And you've still got Jason Crow out there. Crypto Crow still talks about Cardano and people like that. But you need to not attract the wrong people. And that, I think, is the difference, because there are some good influencers out there. It's just that because they talk about the same projects all the time, they don't get these, shill gigs or whatever you want to call them. But you can't sit there and say, talk about us, when A, there's nothing to talk about, and B, there is no financial incentive to talk about it. Now, crypto bloodbath. Bitcoin and Ethereum drop sharply amid market sell-off. Boo. Now, the sooner I get my eye operation, the better, because my eyes are not holding up very well. The global crypto market has dropped to 3.5 trillion from 4.28 trillion. marking a 19% fall in just a few days, despite the steep correction. Analysts say November could bring a potential turnaround. Historically, Bitcoin performs well this month, showing an average return of over 40%. Again, if we're going to be talking about 25 to 30% drops, and that's mainly in Bitcoin, you've got a little bit further to go from where we are now, if it's going to play out exactly how it should play out. If Bitcoin comes down another 5%, for argument's sake, that's going to put us at $98,000, $97,000. I think that is more than achievable. It's a 5% move. The question is, how do we react to that move? If everything is locked down and we've got the OGs selling and everything else, and the sell pressure's there and there's no buy pressure, there's no money coming in, where's the money coming in to buy, blah, 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 then it could be a struggle. But these things, you know, they orchestrate themselves. These things play out, as you hear, and things that are unrelated play out as well. So again, even if we go to 97, 98,000, as long as we don't stay there, it's still achievable. The Fed Reserve's latest comment has added to the sell-off pressure. This is talking about more rate cuts or stopping rate cuts for the rest of the year. It announced its second rate cut and plans to end quantitative tightening in December. December the 1st, it stops that. Jerome Powell warned that inflation remains a concern. His statement pushed the US dollar back up to 100. I think yesterday we looked, it was at 99.5, putting fresh pressure on risk assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is currently testing key support. Well, fallen below that price right now. We could test between 98 and 100,000. I absolutely, totally agree with that. But what I would say, and I've said this many times before, when we broke $45,000 and $50,000, I said this is probably the last time we're ever going to see Bitcoin at $45,000 to $50,000. I think we said the same thing at about $70,000 or $80,000. We broke to $79,000 and we came back up. I think we could break $100,000 to the downside for the very last time this month. 98,000, 97,000. That could be the very last time you ever buy a Bitcoin or buy a percentage of a Bitcoin for less than $100,000. I don't think we're going to $80,000 or $60,000 or whatever other fearmongers are telling you. But we can, of course, go below 100,000. Look at the Ethereum price. I said we go to 3,600. Worst case scenario, we're at 3,500. Okay, Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else can always go higher and lower than you predict. But I think we could wick there. Maybe spend a day or two there. And then we go up. And again, the market looks heavy right now because of all the external factors. And the market looks heavy. If 126,000 was the all-time high of this bull run and we don't go a cent higher than that this next few months, then it's been the strangest feeling ever. Because at 126,000, I didn't feel like we'd gone anywhere. I didn't feel like the expansion to the upside warranted a $126,000 top. But that was the same feeling in 2021 when we were at 69,000 and we were coming down as well. So I've got to bear that in mind. At 69,000, people were calling for 100,000. When we were at 126,000, people were calling for 200, 300,000. So maybe we've hit all-time highs. But I don't think we have. And I think the key is to not expect us to go to $250,000 by the end of the year. That's the key. Because you've got to manage your expectation. 150,000, let's take 140,000. No, let's take 140,000. 140,000 is only 10% higher than what we hit previously. If you go back and you look at what happened in 2021, we got to 64,000, came down, looked like it was all over, and went to 69,000. Now that was what? That was another 10% move up. So we had a 10% move up in 2021, and everyone thought we were going a lot higher. I think this cycle we could easily put in a 140-ish top. People then say it's going to 200,000. This is it. It's the blow-off top. And then we retrace from 140,000. That is entirely possible. But again, I don't think we're going to come back to $60,000 at the end of this bull run in the bear market. We're in a different cycle. We're in a different time. I honestly think 90s to 100,000 for the bottom for Bitcoin in the bear market without any external crashes or black swans, whatever. Perfectly on the cards. Now, we're not going to talk about the Ethereum. We're going to talk about something else in a minute. So the Bitcoin dominance chart shows it's moving out of altcoins and into Bitcoin. This is also, what's it called? Capital rotation, funds rotation, money rotation. Money will leave alts and go to Bitcoin the way that money leaves stocks and shares and goes into gold. When people think there's something bad is going to happen, they will flee to what they consider to be the most stable asset, and that is Bitcoin. So if you're seeing your alts getting crushed, but Bitcoin isn't getting crushed, that's because the funds are flowing back into Bitcoin. Now, when we see, fingers crossed, 140, 150 on Bitcoin, and then we start to see the money flow out, guess what happens then? The money from Bitcoin flows into alts, and that's when you see the Bitcoin dominance breakdown. But at this moment in time, as I said yesterday, there is no sight of Bitcoin dominance breaking down because we're starting to break into Bitcoin dominance's bull market support band. And I think that's important. Now, I did say that we were going to go look at the Bitcoin chart. Do you know what? In 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, I am going to be able to see again. And I honestly cannot wait because there is nothing worse than peeking at a screen. Right, let's have a look. Now, this is my chart. It's not the Oracle's chart. This is the one I drew weeks ago. And I've been telling you about this chart for weeks. Good afternoon, Tariq. Good morning, Bullish Bull. I hope you are all well. Nice to see people in chat. Nice to see. And thank you to Wakas. Wakas has been sending us tips the last few days. So thank you for your tips on Binance. And believe you me, if you want to tip us on Binance, by all means, tip us on Binance. Right. This is the chart that I kind of bring up every week. And it's kind of the range that we're in. Now, we have certain peaks where we break above that range. And then we kind of have a bottom that we kind of wick into. Okay? So this goes back to July, the middle of July. So August, September, October, November. So this is a 4-month kind of range that we're in. As you can see, we are now at the very bottom of this range. So one of two things is going to happen. We are going to come back up towards this area here, which is about 10. Is that 109, 111? What? 110,000. Top of this range here is about 115,000. They're the two targets to the upside. But what happens if we break? Where do we come down to? Well, let's steal some of these lines and give you an idea. I think this area here is looking mightily enticing. And that is 101,000. We've been there before. This was back, when was this? This was in May. Okay, we were back there in May. What about if we look a little bit further back? Where do we see? Well, we don't really have a lot, in all honesty. I mean, you could look at maybe the 98,000 range if we want to go back and start talking about the end of last year. But I don't think we're there yet. I think 101,000 is where we could find some level of support, and that is from, like I say, we were there from May till June, but we're below the bull market support band. We've been heading towards the bull market support band since July. We've been in this sideways action. But when else have we been in this sideways action? Is this the kind of thing that we have seen and never seen before? No. Look at that. We were doing the exact same thing in February to September 2024. I don't know if you remember when we streamed this entire period. It was, honestly, I lost 9 months of my life doing this. 9 months of my life. Until we break this line, we're coming back down. Until we hold this line, well, we're going back up. We're going back up. We're going back up. We're coming back down. We're coming back down. At some point there, I'm sure I said we're coming back down, and then we broke out. Okay? So, that was 9 months. This has been 4 months. I don't want to see another 5 months of this, thank you very much. I want to see us leave this zone. What I don't want to see is this move, which I don't think we're going to get, by the way. But we could quite easily stay here until the end of the year. There is no rule now saying that my 24th of November all-time high has to happen. That's when I think it will happen, but it can happen before, just, or just after. It could happen in December. It could happen on December the 12th, okay? That's just the time frame. In fact, if you go back, when was it? I talked this year about us having all-time highs by a certain date, and we missed it by 2 weeks. It's in one of the OG videos, probably back in March, April or May. And I said, we're going to go to all-time highs by the end of April and end of May, whichever one it was. I can't remember now. And we didn't. And then about the 14th, the 15th, we did. I said we would get to the end of October and we would be at 136,000. And we are nowhere near it. But that doesn't mean that we can't do it. It just means that we're not set up for it. It means that we need to see some movement in the market. Some of the stalemates being broken. We need to see some better macro. And I think if we're at the bottom of this range now, we either come down to 101,000 and bounce, we go to 98,000 and bounce, or we bounce here. But there's going to be a bounce. Otherwise, it's over. This is the end of the bull run. That was the double peak that we had in 2021. So again, am I concerned today? No. I will be concerned if we start losing 97, 95, 93, 91,000. If we start going down there, then I think that this was the bull run. If we start seeing this with just no support whatsoever, and we come back down to this zone here, then I think this could be a mini bear market, the bear market, the end of the cycle, whatever you want to call it. But we haven't done that yet. And I said the same thing time and time again. We haven't done that yet. I'm just giving you the different scenarios. We should move up from where we are, or within the next 2 or 3% of where we are. And we should move up to about 110, 115. Not calling for 150,000, I'm calling for 110 to stay in this range. And as you can see, this range isn't perfect. We broke out to the upside a couple of times, here and here. We wicked down here. We're coming back down here again. So it's not perfect. It's just an indicator. It's just a pattern on the screen that we try and show you. So don't worry too much. Worry when we really start to break down. And that is, you know, one of those things that you see people on crying on these streams saying it's all over. The reason it's all over is they told you we should be at $200,000, $300,000 by now, and we're not. That's the problem. They've got their issues, but they're not your issues. Your issue should be stacking as much Bitcoin as possible. Now then, we're going to move on. We're going to have a little look at... one second. I'm just waiting for this to load. Right, we've had a poll today, by the way. What is going on with this article? Why is this article not loading? And why has it got a great big advert? There we go. Okay, right. We're not going to talk too much about this, but I am going to talk about it. Now, we have a poll. Is the bull run over? So far, 25% of you have said yes, and 75% of you have said no. The bull run is not over. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that either the right group of people have found us, or we have given what we think is the best advice to you possible, which is don't get too excited on the way up, don't get too depressed on the way down. And if it's a combination of the two, even better. Then everybody wins, especially the new people on Binance. By the way, we have Binance Square open up here. If you watch us on Binance Square, we give away prizes every week. 5 prizes a week go to people who watch and drop their user ID. So if you are on there, Crypto Queen 350, by the way, she's won 2 weeks on the trot. It's not fixed. I stream it live. I record it live. Okay. Now then, Wintermute CEO denies Binance lawsuit amid rumors of crypto Black Friday. As I said, I am not going to give you this is not a he said, she said thing on here. Oh, for the love of... So I'm not here to discuss any of that because clearly we're streaming on Binance. I'm not going to have conjecture, but I've got to tell you about the news. And the rumors are that there is something going through crypto Twitter about this. So Wintermute CEO Evgeny Gavoy denies the rumors that the firm plans to sue Binance. He called the speculation complete rubbish. You can't swear on this channel, reaffirming that Wintermute was unaffected. The denial follows viral claims alleging Binance's ADL mechanism caused major losses and private settlements. Now, we're not going to talk about this too much, but I am bringing it up because what's important to take out of this is the fact that Wintermute have denied that there is going to be a lawsuit. And if you go onto crypto Twitter right now, you will see everybody talking about a lawsuit. So the reason I'm telling you about this is not to give you my opinion on whether it's right or wrong. It's to give you the facts as we have them from the mouth of the person who is involved. The same way we covered ever so briefly the lawsuit between CZ and Elizabeth Warren. We covered it very briefly and we didn't really pass opinion on it because you have to know the facts. And wherever we stream, we have to give you the facts. Or we try to give you the facts as best we can. Now, Strategy files an IPO for Euro stock to fund more Bitcoin buys. Michael Saylor's Strategy has filed to offer Euro-denominated shares in its latest push to raise capital for more Bitcoin. Now, I'm starting to get an uneasy feeling in my water about Strategy. And the reason is that I believe some of... I know a lot of numbers. Okay, I know the number 1, I know the number 5, I love the number 7. I know numbers. And when I look at the creative accountancy involved in Strategy and what they're doing and what they're paying out and unrealized profits and dividend payments in 15 to 20% range and all this kind of stuff, I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay? And it's not because I don't understand it. I just don't like it. Now, let's go through this a little bit so you understand. So, crypto treasury company Strategy has filed for an initial public offering of a euro-denominated perpetual stock amid its ongoing strategy to accumulate Bitcoin. Strategy said on Monday that it plans to offer 3.5 million shares of the stock under the ticker STRI. Let's call it STRI. With the net proceeds from their sales being used to buy Bitcoin and for general business purposes. The stock provides a 10% yearly dividend on the stated amount of €100, $115, paid quarterly starting on December the 31st. Now, I don't like this. I don't like the way this is structured. I don't like the dividend of 10%. I don't like the fact it's paid quarterly. There is no income coming into Strategy. Strategy are buying Bitcoin. They are not selling Bitcoin. Where is the dividend coming from? Is it coming from... Are they getting paid in other stocks? Are they getting paid in STRI? Are they getting paid in dollars? Are they getting paid in euros? Where is the source of that euro dollar coming from? And I'm sure it will be revealed in here. I'm sure of it. I just don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is I used to get a lot of these across my desk. People that want to build wind farms, you stick £100,000, £250,000 in, you're guaranteed 11% a year for the next 5 years or 10 years, and then you get your money back at the end if you want to get rid of it. So you end up getting, you put £250,000 in, you get £500,000 back at the end of 10 years or 5 years, whatever it might be. And it all sounds lovely, except that the wind doesn't blow, or it takes a lot longer to build than people expect, and there's always problems. And if something looks too good to be true, it normally is. The same way if somebody's paying you 15 or 20% APR on your stablecoin, something's amiss. Saylor said on Thursday that Strategy is unlikely to change its model, telling investors on a call that the focus is to sell digital credit, improve the balance sheet, buy Bitcoin, and communicate that to the credit and equity investors. Some analysts are concerned that the crypto treasury business model could collapse due to the number of entrants, and such companies will have to buy their rivals to stay competitive. That's always going to happen anyway, and I've already said this many times. If you are going to back one treasury firm, make sure that treasury firm is in Bitcoin. I've said this before. I'm not giving financial advice, but you are looking at a $2.1 trillion asset, and then you are looking at a $100 billion asset. They're two different size beasts. One is 60% of crypto. The other is, 3% of crypto. Don't be convinced into going and buying a TON treasury, a SUI treasury, a Bonk treasury. What are we doing here? What are we doing? You buy Bitcoin. You buy Bitcoin on Binance. You hold Bitcoin. You don't leverage your Bitcoin. You hold it. And then when you have more money, you buy more Bitcoin. And if you win a prize from Crypto Warehouse, you buy Bitcoin with it. And your objective in life is to physically own that Bitcoin. And if you're clever and you know what you're doing, you get yourself a Trezor or the other one, whatever it's called. Can't remember the name of it right now. You get one of them and you put your funds onto it and you keep it safe. That's what you do. Ledger. You get yourself a Ledger or a Trezor and you keep it safe. If you are new to crypto and you don't know what you're doing, or you don't want to pay €100 or $100 for a cold storage wallet, you keep it on Binance and you turn every security feature you have on. That's what you do. You don't touch stuff like this. And if you do, and if you really want to get into the treasury business, you look at the Bitcoin ones. Now, the thing I disagree with is the fact that if there are multiple Bitcoin treasuries, that they will have to buy each other out. I don't agree with that at all. I do think that altcoin treasuries are going to fail. And I think they're going to fail spectacularly. And they're going to be seen as failed experiments. And everybody's going to laugh at them. And I will be one of those people laughing at them. Because I think it's incredulous that you would have a SUI treasury when SUI hasn't proven. What's SUI proven? What has SUI proven? Nothing yet. So there's speculation. What has Bitcoin proven yet? Bitcoin has proven it can get into the minds of all of the financial gurus on Wall Street. It can get the president of America talking about it. That's what Bitcoin has done. SUI hasn't done any of that. And you're going to trust a company to just keep going and buying SUI. It's incredible. But there is also a certain amount of trepidation I have against this kind of creative accountancy where you're paid out a very large sum of money in dividends for helping them buy an asset which they will never sell, which won't generate them an income yet, that they are paying you 10% on in cash. That doesn't make any sense to anybody, does it? It doesn't make any sense. So are they raising more funds to pay interest? Because isn't that a Ponzi scheme? And that's where I'm getting very, very worried about Saylor. Because I tell you what, Saylor could end up being the best baddie, not the worst baddie, the best baddie crypto has ever had. 3 altcoins that could hit all-time highs in the first week of November. This is going to age really, really well. We'll have a look at these. Memecore, Undead Games, and Railgun. I would ignore all 3 of them. Memecore has done the best of them all, but I would certainly ignore all of them. I'm going to speed up a little bit because we have a lot to get through, and I think we're going to run out of time. And I have a meeting at 1 p.m., which I need to go to. Yes, I have meetings these days. 11:50. So we've got 10 minutes to talk about what we're going to talk about. We've got to talk about Ton, Ripple, and Animo. So we've got plenty of time to talk about these three things. And then we need to talk about the Maple quiz, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Ton strategy flagged by Nasdaq for failing to secure shareholder approval. Ton Strategy, a publicly listed company known for accumulated Ton coin tied to the Telegram ecosystem, has received a formal reprimand from Nasdaq for breaking listing rules related to its large-scale crypto purchase and financial structure. In a recent filing with the US, with the SEC, Nasdaq said the firm, formerly known as Web Technology Company, failed to obtain shareholders' approval for a private investment in public equity, which is a PIPE deal used to fund a $272 million Ton coin acquisition. The transaction, completed in August, involved issuing new shares and are funded warrants. I can't speak today. That exceeded the exchange threshold for automatic approval. Now, again, I don't need to talk too much about this. In my opinion, not financial advice, this kind of stuff is dangerous. Ton could very well go to $10 in this bull run, if there is a bull run, which I think there will be. It could go to $8. Could do 3, 4x, 5x from here. Excellent. In the bear market, it could go to 20 or 30 cents. The entire strategy, the entire $272 million is probably already underwater as we speak, because that would have been a higher price than it is today. You're a shareholder of Ton. You are going to vote to liquidate the strategy and get your money back. That's what you're going to do. That is going to liquidate $272 million worth of Ton at a potentially lower market cap than it is today. It's going to cause a bank run on the coin. Everybody who knows there's going to be a vote on Ton is going to sell the asset before this happens. So Ton could very easily go to a cent. That is why I don't like strategies outside of Bitcoin. Or even Tom Lee. Let's give, not Tom Lee, Tom from Bitmine. Give him his due. That's a big enough asset to hold on. But Ton isn't. Sui isn't. And if you drop $300, $400, $500 million worth of tokens, or whatever they're currently worth at the time, you drop them and you have to sell them because you've been told to by your shareholders to liquidate, you are going to smash that coin and it isn't going to recover for a very long time. That's why it's dangerous. And it's also dangerous to hold tokens that are attached to treasuries which are so large. That's why I would be careful. In my humble opinion. And again, that's all it is. Right then, Ripple. We spoke a few days ago about how the chap from Solana was saying that Ripple doesn't do anything. Ripple doesn't do anything. Well, Ripple does things. Ripple launches a US spot prime brokerage for digital assets. Again, we don't need to go into this in too much depth, but I will make it bigger. A, so I can read it, and B, so you can see it. Ripple Labs has launched a digital asset spot prime brokerage service for the US institutional market, marking a major expansion of its trading and infrastructure offerings. The new business, operating under the name Ripple Prime, offers US-based institution clients OTC, so that's over the counter. They don't buy it on spot, they buy it at a set price. Execution across dozens of major digital assets, including XRP, which is fantastic, and of course Ripple USD, which of course is its stablecoin. The offering is going to be added to its existing derivatives and cleared products business. Fantastic. Under the new setup, US institutions will be able to cross-margin spot trades alongside futures, swap, and other holdings, enabling its unified workflow, blah, blah, blah. Lots and lots of jargon and speak. What this means is, very simply put, anybody who talks about Ripple in terms of not knowing what they're doing, not having a roadmap, Ripple has always been men in suits. Even the guy with glasses, the beard and the long hair, they're always men in suits. They've always got a plan, and they've always got a roadmap, and they always know what they're doing. A year ago, I sat here and said, Vitalik does not know what he's doing. He has no roadmap. It is a rudderless ship. And since then, he has produced a very fit and fine leader at this moment in time of Ethereum. I know Ethereum has its own CEO, but it's still Vitalik, and he still guides the ship, and he's done his job. Fair play. Put your hands up. Ripple's always known what it's going to be doing. If you bet against Ripple, why? Are you in a clan? Are you a Cardano maxi? Are you a Solana maxi? Are you here to make money? If you're here to make money, then Ripple is a product that's going to make money. Simple as. And they are going to be involved in banking, payments, stable coins. They're going to have their own DeFi platform. XRP is going to hold its value. At some point, I would imagine Ripple is going to start doing a buyback when it goes through to the point of actually being a really revenue-generated business. The stablecoin already makes the money. So Ripple is just a product. You can hate it as much as you want. If it's going to make you money, should you care? Okay? We're not here to make friends with Brad Garlinghouse. We are here to make money out of Brad Garlinghouse, are we not? Is that not the entire point of this? Are we here for the tech? Because if we're here for the tech, then you should also be happy to look at Ripple and happy to watch what they do. Now then, how long do we have left? I'm trying to get through this as best I can. 11:56, just enough time. I want to have a chat at the end about the quiz. Animoca Brands announces reverse merger plan for NASDAQ listing. Web3 investment giant with 600 portfolio companies to merge with Currents Group, creating first publicly listed digital assets conglomerate. There he is, lovely man. So they are going to reverse merge, paving the way for a public market debut. Under the proposed transaction, Animoca Brands shareholders would own approximately 95% of the combined entity, with Currents shareholders holding the remaining 5%. The merged company is expected to operate under the Animoca Brands name and trade on NASDAQ. Now, this happens all the time. I don't believe this should happen by the trading bank, whatever that one was called. We're not that anymore. We're Binance Bank. And then the SEC say, oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, no problem. Name of company changed. You've got all your licenses. Off you go. That's how other crypto exchanges have been doing this. That's how Ripple have been doing this. This is how it works. And I don't necessarily agree with it. Taking over 95% of a business that's listed on a stock exchange and changing its name to your name, it's like moving into somebody's house and putting the house deeds in your name, but the person still lives in the basement. It shouldn't be done. And again, let's go back to this. Binance Bank doesn't exist. It was just an example. So again, I don't think this should happen. I don't think this should be allowed to happen. I think there should be a limit. I don't believe 95% of a business should be sold and then that new company be allowed to then use that listing. I think the NASDAQ, SEC should come in and say, hang on a minute, this isn't, you do get takeovers. Of course you get takeovers, but this isn't that. This is going, right, we need to buy a bank in Arkansas with a license to be a bank in Arkansas. And they literally open the yellow pages or pink pages, whatever you've got in your country, and they go down and they go, Salvador International Bank. Do you want $1 billion? No. Do you want $2 billion? Yes, fine. And then they get the license. And that's all this is. That is all this is. I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong. However, it happens. Life isn't fair. We know that. Animoca, by the way, are absolutely massive. They have been around since Solana NFT summer. Was that 2020? Something like that, 2022, 2023. They've obviously got their own assets. They've got the IP on other projects. Don't Animoca own Bored Ape and CryptoPunks, Cyberpunks, whatever they're called? So they're a big company, and this was always going to happen. But me a lesson. Right. This will be on Binance Square tomorrow. This one. So, tomorrow night, we're going to do a Maple quiz night. Now, Maple, we've been with, I don't know when we started with Maple. March, April, something like that. I think we started with Maple Finance. And we cover them on a monthly basis, multiple times in tweets and stuff like that. And we are going to do a quiz tomorrow night. Now, if you were here for last week's quiz and the quiz before, we did a Mew night and it was just cat questions. Cat world records. Okay. Last week was Halloween. We did Halloween crypto and Halloween questions. It was a lot of fun. Now, tomorrow night is not going to be that type of quiz night. Don't rock up tomorrow night and think we're going to ask you questions about pancakes and flour and milk and maple leaves, okay? We are going to do a serious quiz night because they're a serious company where we can have a bit of fun with Wolfies, have a bit of fun with Mew and Halloween. We can do all that, but sometimes you've got to be serious. Now, tomorrow night is going to be a hybrid quiz night. So we're going to spend at least 20 minutes talking about what Maple did in October. So especially for the people on Binance that might not have seen the stuff before, don't come in and 15 minutes into the stream start typing when quiz, when quiz, when quiz, when quiz, don't hear, don't hear, don't hear. Okay? Listen, we are here to educate people as best as we can. And when we are doing a stream on Maple Finance, we've got 8 different announcements for Maple Finance in October alone to get through. And then we've got to do the TA from the Oracle on where Syrup Token is going to go. So tomorrow night is going to be fun, still going to be relaxed. But I noticed it a few weeks ago when we did the last Maple quiz. People were like, let's just get on with the quiz, let's just get on with the quiz. That's not our job. Our job is to represent Maple on Binance. And going straight into a quiz is great because you get to win prizes and it's a bit of fun. But we still have to do the work. We still have to talk about the updates. You know, the point of this is to talk about Maple Finance. So we're going to do the update. We're then going to do the TA, which is only about 5 minutes. And then we're going to do the quiz. I've already written 10 of the questions. We're going to try and do as many questions as we can, but I don't have a lot of time to write them. Because last quiz, it took me 4 hours to write the quiz. The quiz before took me 5 hours to write the quiz. And the reason it takes so long to do these quizzes is simple. I can't keep asking you the same questions because you know all the answers. Mags can sit there with 12 bottles of beer, one in each hand, and he can just toe the answer because I've asked him the same question 10 times, okay? So I have to ask different questions. It isn't that easy finding 20 different questions about a project you've already done quizzes on 5 or 6 times. So we might get to 15 or 20 questions. There's going to be 3 prizes for those of you on YouTube. There'll be 5 prizes for those of you on Binance. So 8 prizes. And for the record, that money comes out of our pocket. So don't expect thousands and thousands of dollars in giveaways. I'm just trying to manage expectations because we get more and more people watching on Binance. I just want you all to be aware of that. So tomorrow night, it will be at 7 p.m. Central European time. That is 7 hours from now. So whatever time it is where you are right this second, 7 hours from now, tomorrow night, this is when it starts. The 5th of November, which is, if you're from the UK, that's Bonfire Night. And we will go through these things, okay? So I haven't put this up yet on Binance Square. I'm going to put this up in a minute. This is going to be tomorrow night. And that is what I'm going to say on that. And then I think I'll probably overrun again. I always overrun. 12:06. Right, okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You are all legends. Thank you, Mags, Manjeet, Tariq, Bullish Bull, KB, whoever else is here. Thank you all for showing up. I will see you all tomorrow night for the quiz. Take care.